Thank you for coming back to my channel. This one I'm going to be calling PO number 6. And in PO number 6, because of what's going on in today, I'm going to talk about Russia. And the reason I'm going to talk about Russia is if you followed my other videos, you know that I do have people that are part of the family that are Russians. They were born and raised in Russia, and I still have plenty that are there. So I've spent many days in Russia. I've enjoyed my time there. I understand a lot of the people, even though I speak very little of the language. The language is very difficult for me because, not being an academic person, they don't even use the Latin alphabet. They use the Greek alphabet. So even the letters in the words are difficult for me to understand. So I did go to the Soviet Union when it was just starting to break up, and in Russia at that time. And the reason was we had just discovered we had a son that was bipolar, and his girlfriend had broken off the relationship because she was concerned about a person being crazy. Back at that time, a few years back, people didn't distinguish between bipolar, schizophrenia, or other kinds of things that we've later categorized. And bipolar wasn't all that serious of a problem, but it was a problem. So I did go with my son Stephen to Russia and interview women, and he did bring one over on a fiancé visa, and they got married. And my only grandchild is still alive here in America today, and it's the only person that I have in my world that is a descendant of my wife's and I union. We had two sons. David never got married, never had any children, and Stephen married Maria, and therefore we have Nina, who is a wonderful little girl, and she's not that little anymore. She's getting close to 28 years old, but she's spent a lot of time in Russia. She's spent a lot of time in America. She had dual citizenship, but I think she's let the Russian citizenship expire now because she married an American who was in the Air Force, and now she's has a daughter, and they're living their life basically in Washington, D.C. So I am very well aware of quite a few Russians. My in-laws, I visited in Chernyanka several times and got along very well with them. And we don't have a lot of communication now because as Maria has gotten older, and we were not able to financially go to Russia all that often, but we did until Carolyn died in 2013. And after she died, I've never made a trip back to Russia by myself. So what we have now is a distant past relationship with Russians. And therefore, I do have a lot of people that I met in Russia, and I think they're wonderful people. I don't think they're any different than the people that I've met in the United States of America. People just want to live, have a decent life, feel like that they're contributing to the society and moving on. But unfortunately, we have a leftover from the Soviet Union who were basically all tyrants, all what I would call is terrorist, and I'm glad that they're gone. Now, not all of them were, because the last ruler of the Soviet Union realized that the Soviet Union, from a group of terrorists that are no different than the mafia people in America. All they are is terrorists, and they support their government rules by murdering their citizens. And as you've listened to my videos, I think any leader that has murdered 3 or more of his citizens is a tyrant and a fugitive. And right now we have a fugitive in Russia, and his name's Vladimir Putin. Putin is a leftover from the Soviet Union time, and he's taken over, and now he's created a little conflict with Ukraine. Now, unfortunately for Russia, the Ukrainians have gotten a lot of influence from America, and when people have a chance to be free, they like being free than being the subjects of a tyrant. The people in the Ukraine did not take well to the tyrant that refers to himself as Putin. Now, Putin supposedly has won several elections, which I do not believe. If you looked at the actual facts, you'll find out he lost those elections because the Russian people aren't really that stupid. But I am doing this video because I'm counting on the fact that the Russian people are not that stupid, and that they now realize that they have a chance to have what they want, a country of freedom, not a country of a criminal. Now, I say criminal by Putin, and if you watch my videos, I put Putin on the scale with the leader of Iran. They're both criminals. They are not leaders of a country. When you murder 3 or more of your citizens, you no longer are a ruler. Putin is not a ruler of Russia. He is their number one criminal. And I've heard that someone has at least a $2 million bounty on him. And now we have an issue. Putin, and I heard it come right out of his own mouth, and this has been quite a few years ago, and he made the statement, and I heard it, it was on TV, and it had to be translated because I don't understand Russian. But what he said was, I am the richest man in Europe. And I don't think he was lying. I think he knew what he was talking about. He was trying to brag about it. People immediately tried to tone him down and not brag about it because the people around him knew what PO stands for. Public opinion affects the political outcome, and they did not want the political outcome to be against Putin. So they did not want the public opinion to turn against him. Well, no one in his right mind in today is in favor of Putin. Even his own generals know that he's not any good. He's nothing but the number one criminal of Russia. He is not a leader of Russia. He just pretends that he is. Now, the reason that I'm doing this video is we have a conflict. The conflict is Putin has stolen billions of dollars from the Russian people. Now, the reason I know that is if you've seen my videos, you know that I say anyone that's been in office more than 2 terms or 50% of their life are not a servant of the people. They have now become a pig eating at the public trough. And Putin is the biggest pig that is alive in Russia today, and going to be the biggest pig that ever is in Russia again. He has sucked up more of the wealth of Russia than any other crook or mafia leader that has been on the face of the earth. Now, Putin has stashed away several $billion. And the issue now is, will the Russian people wake up and say, this is our number one criminal, not a leader of Russia, and put him in jail where he belongs? And the reason we don't want to execute him is we need to find out from Putin where the money is stashed. Because when Putin dies, where he's invested the money, and probably Qatar and Switzerland is 2 big prospects that are probably holding more than $1 billion each, and even maybe more than that. But I'm sure that Putin has diversified a lot of what he's stolen. So what we want to do is have him alive long enough so he can inform the Russian officials where the money is, because that money belongs to Russia. It does not belong to Putin. And if Putin dies, then wherever he invested it, those people are going to get to keep it. And those people have plenty of their own money now. They don't need to inherit the money that belongs to the Russian people. So the thing is that we have the Ukraine that does not like Putin and needs to eliminate him. Now they're being able to get drones and information on where Putin will be or where Putin go to get him, and they will have what we call a bomb buster that can go through any kind of fortress that Russia has built and destroy Putin. And I think that within 2 years, Putin is guaranteed to be gone. And the only way that can be avoided is if the Russian people will capture him, put him in jail, and if he doesn't want to talk, just say, well, Mr. Putin or Vladimir, tell you what, when you want to tell us where the next $1 billion is, you'll know that because we'll know you're very hungry. And when you want your next meal, you can have it as soon after we've already verified where the next $1 billion is that belongs to the Russian people that you have stolen from them. And I'm sure that Putin is selfish enough that he wants to live as long as he can. So when he realizes he's getting very hungry, he's going to give in, tell the people where the next billion is, and they may have to do that to get every billion out of him. Russian people don't want to lose the billions of dollars that have been stolen by the number one criminal of Russia. The number one criminal of Russia is Vladimir Putin. He belongs behind bars until he coughs up where the money is that he has stolen so it can be returned to the Russian economy. So the Russian people need to do what's necessary to make sure that they take Putin, and this will save the rest of the world as well. And I'm sure a lot of the NATO countries and even the United States of America would be willing to give the Russian people or the Russian Federation, which is actually a collection of several nations, money to rebuild themselves just by getting rid of Putin. Because Putin is the kind of person that has access to atomic bombs, and he doesn't care how many people he murders. He's already murdered plenty, and he would love to be able to make that into the hundreds of thousands of people. And one atomic bomb could easily take out 100,000 people. And if you don't believe that, just ask Japan. America did it to them, and that was with an atomic bomb. Now, we do have hydrogen bombs that are more powerful. I don't know that Putin has those, but he does have atomic bombs, and we need to get him away from those atomic bombs because Putin will use them to murder other people on the idea that he may profit from it. And that's all he needs to do is know that he would profit a little bit. And if he thought he could profit very little, he would be more than happy to murder 100,000 people just to be able to accomplish that. And those are the kind of mafia people that we don't want in the society. We want him caged. We want him put where he belongs, put in a cage where he cannot get out and harm other people any longer, because he's already caused way more trouble than anyone deserves. As George Orwell said before, and that was with the Russian people, all Putin has been for most of his life is a pig eating at the public trough. And this pig is the fattest pig in the world when you count the amount of money that he has stashed. So we need to get that back. We need to give it back to the Russian people, and we need to have the Russian people start prospering with a nation that is of the people, for the people, and by the people, and not professional politicians or mafia individuals. If you have a terrorist, which would be a mafia type of person, then you have someone you don't want there. And I've already said religion cannot do it. Now, I know the symbol for Russia is a double-headed eagle, because what they're saying is the Russian Orthodox Church has the same power as the government. Well, it sounds like a good sales pitch, but that's all it is. Putin does not give the Russian Orthodox Church any power whatsoever. They have to be thankful he's not trying to destroy them. So they need to get someone back in government who is a religious person, so that the religious people can teach this government person that you need be the kind of person that you would not do anything to, or make your government do anything to, that you done to you. If you don't want someone to do it to you, you don't do it to another human being. And this is not what Vladimir Putin thinks he can do. He thinks he can murder anyone he wants to. He thinks he can do it just for the pleasure of killing them. He doesn't even need an excuse for it. He just thinks it makes him feel powerful. He needed to feel powerful because he had no character whatsoever. He is demean of any civilized feelings, and therefore he does not have an attitude that makes him comfortable about anything in society. All he wants to do is destroy. And these are the kind of people we need to remove as quickly as we can. And Vladimir Putin is going to be removed within a couple of years, because it won't take the Ukraine any longer than that to find him and eliminate him. So we need the Russian people to get busy, start working in a hurry, cage Putin, and start getting their money back. And then start being a government of the people with a religious attitude, that the ruler of the government not do anything to any one of their, I don't know if it's 7, 10, or 11 countries they have, and I don't know geography enough to know all of them. But I do know there are several, and Russia is not the largest one of them. And so therefore, there's a lot of people there that need to take the initiative to put Putin out of his misery. And his misery is to put him in the cage, because once he's in the cage, he will, within a few days, realize he has no more authority to make any decisions for any other human being on the face of the planet. This will give him a chance to relax, get over his schizophrenic attitude, and start having a life that is more satisfying than the life that he lives now. The life that he lives now is basically one of terror. He knows people are trying to murder him all around him, but he thinks they just want the power that he has. No, no one wants that except a sick person. And a sick person that wants it is one that's going to become a terrorist and a criminal. Terrorist murders 3 other people. He is a criminal that needs to be caged or killed, no exceptions. And so if we get rid of this one, we have one major one, which is in Iran, and then we can turn our attention to North Korea and see if he's murdered more than 3 people in his society, then he's also moved from being a leader to a criminal, and he would have to be eliminated as well. And as soon as the world gets rid of all of the criminals and the criminal organization that thinks they can run a country and convince the world that they have thousands of people that they can put into a fake made-up war just to try to harass and harm other people, and that's all they want to do. They don't care who they're harming as long as they're being able to subjugate someone, because it makes them feel like they're a king. They're not a king. They're just an idiot trying to rule other people because they think the power makes them feel special and powerful. but the power is just the power to murder people without being held accountable for it. It doesn't mean that you're not a criminal. You are. You just haven't been arrested yet and put in the cage that you belong in. So it's time to take care of that. It's time to put Putin in the cage that he belongs in. And it's time for us to start doing what needs to be done in order to give the Russian people the opportunity that they need to have, where they can now have a government that is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And when that returns to what Russia thought they were going to get when the Soviet Union broke up, and it's too bad that we have this leftover piece of garbage from the Soviet Union. But we do have it, we have to deal with it, and we have to get rid of it. And we want to get rid of it by Russia putting him in a cage so they can get their money back. Otherwise, Ukraine is able to wipe him off the planet first. That money will be gone forever. And Qatar or Switzerland, wherever he's put it, will be the benefactor. So the Russian people need to get right away what belongs to them, put back into their economy so they can recover and be a country that starts manufacturing and creating things that other people in the world are willing to pay for. This is a program that will allow Russia to recover faster than any other system that has ever been devised for a nation in the world that we're aware of. And that system is that Russia will institute a new system where all of the different sections of Russia that we will refer to now as the Kremlin will be made up of several different independent countries that will act like lands. The land of this, the land of that. And whether there are 10 or 15 or 30 lands, each land will have a governor that gets elected once every 5 years. So in every decade, there will be 2 terms in each of the lands. Land number 2, that will be the leader of the Kremlin. And from each of the lands, a representative will be sent to the Kremlin to be a representative to advise the leader of the Kremlin. Now, the leader of the Kremlin will have an opportunity to only serve 1 term, no more than 1 term, because by the time you get through 10 or 12 different lands, where each one of them is going to be the ruler, because the first term goes with land number 1, the second term goes with land number 2, and so on, until you get through each decade. There will be 2 terms. Each term will be 5 years each. And the difference here is that the different lands can have whatever it takes to make, when their term comes, they have 1 male and 1 female. That is the only way that they can be elected. When it's the time for the female, only females can run for the political person to be ahead of the land and to be the ruler of the Kremlin. Now, the way the Kremlin ruler is decided is when it's that land's turn to become the ruler of the Kremlin, number 1 leader on the ballot of the land is now made the Kremlin ruler for 5 years. The number 2 takes over as the governor or whatever the head position is of that particular province or land. But this means that every other term will be a male, every other term will be a female. And then each land is going to be at the opportunity to be the head of Kremlin from their territory, from their land. So that means that every land over, let's assume now that there's 20 lands, including Russia, or every 20 terms of office is going to be a ruler from your area. Russia will start with the first one, and then it will be 10 years later, because with 20 lands, it's a 5-year period. So there will be, in each decade, you'll have 2 terms of office. So that means that if there's 20, that means every 10 years, your land will be ruler of the Kremlin. That way, every land gets a representation. When the Soviet Union was in power, Putin is a leftover from that term. The Soviet Union was a system of dictators. This system we're using now will guarantee that no dictator ever gets the idea he's going to be a dictator again. Because every 5 years, the Kremlin, without exception, will have a ruler from a completely different way. The Soviet Union proved dictatorships don't work. We want countries or areas to be areas where the people have as much freedom as they can possibly have. And that's why I'm dictating this kind of system, so women are absolutely equal, and each land has competition, and each land has representation from all of the people. No one is a second-class citizen. This will make this territory, which will be referred to as the Kremlin, will become, again, very short time, one of the strongest areas in the entire world, if not even surpassing the United States of America. Because United States of America have problems now. We still don't have women equal, and this will fix what's broken with every other nation in the world. And by using this system, we no longer will have to worry anymore about the Soviet Union area or the Russian area ever becoming a dictatorship again. It will, the control of the government will be so diverse that no one will ever be able to figure out how to create an area that can take over the entire position again. So now that will give the Russian people the chance to maintain their power throughout the world by being the strongest, most producive, most innovative country on the face of the planet. And that's what progress should give, not to the biggest bully on the planet. And with that, that will be the system that will be incorporated with this new change in what's going on with Putin now. Putin will be put in jail like he belongs, and that will be the end of him. So with that, I'm going to say this is the end of PO number 6, and I hope to see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.